The latest Lost Soulaside gameplay is making the rounds, and I thought it would be fun to do some analysis and react to it. We did this recently with Phantom Blade Zero, and you guys really seem to like it. If you missed that stream, make sure and subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, hit the bell button, all the buttons, and then you can check out that broadcast. There'll also be a timestamp in this video for when I actually pull up the footage and react to it. We usually start each show with maybe an hour or so of dialogue, because many people are saying, wait, is this game a Souls-like game? Is Lost Soulaside going to be a Souls-like? And it really isn't, but I do think there are some very clear Souls influences, maybe even influences from JRPGs, as well as just being described as an action-adventure RPG. It also has a lot of things I think that are reminiscent of my experience with Final Fantasy 16. So it sort of feels like FF16 meets a Souls-like, kind of, even though many people are expressing a bit of fatigue with the Souls-like genre. You know, years ago, Elden Ring kind of storms onto the world stage, gets Game of the Year, is arguably the biggest and most successful of FromSoft's games ever, and essentially, I think, influences a lot of companies to take a look at the elements of challenging combat, really big boss fights set in an arena, you know, using your stats and your builds to overcome insurmountable odds. You drop your souls or your XP, there's resting points. Those resting points kind of reset everything. I don't necessarily think all of those elements are present in Lost Soulaside, but some of the influence is certainly there. And you could certainly see that when we looked at Phantom Blade Zero, another title, you know, headed to PlayStation. And Lost Soulaside is, from where I sit, one of the biggest, the first, I think, sort of more mainline big titles from China Hero Project, which is PlayStation's initiative to grow in the Chinese market. Now, they've had some other smaller titles hit, like AI Limit and Fist and others, but this one, I think, they're mainly positioning to be more of a mainline big title, and it could be very popular. It is, I think, dealing in a lot of those gameplay tropes that we have seen that people tend to enjoy right now. The third person, the big weapon, you know, you're set in an environment with lots of frenetic combat. And we're going to be taking a look at brand new Lost Soulaside trailers and gameplay footage. We've got one about the weapons. There was a demo at a China Joy event where a bunch of footage has been uploaded. It's not the best quality. A lot of the uploads say it's 4K. It's not really 4K. It's like a 4K video of what seems like a low-resolution capture. We're still going to take a look at it because I do think some of those elements in there, particularly the one boss fight, is where I'm getting some of the Final Fantasy 16 as well as the Souls-like influence. And somebody in chat is saying, you know, the hack and slash renaissance. We do seem to be seeing a resurgence of the hack and slash. We've got Ninja Gaiden on the way in a variety of ways, a side scroller, a remake, and then a new title coming. There is the clear influence of hack and slash in Phantom Blade Zero, along with the influence of Kung Fu and Souls-likes. And when we look at Lost Soulaside, I can't help but think there is that influence of the hack and slash, the JRPG, a little bit of Souls-like. Even some of the environments kind of remind me of, you know, environments we've seen in games like Control and Destiny. So a lot of convergence of art styles and different things. So we'll be checking out that footage about an hour into the broadcast. So if you're watching now, that should be a timestamp below. If it's not a timestamp, give me grief in the comments. Somebody did that the other day. I'd completely forgotten to go back and do the timestamps because I can't do them while I'm streaming. I have to wait until I'm done, and sometimes I move on to other things and it slips my mind. So always hit me up in the comments and say, hey, where are the timestamps, bro? Help me help you, as it were. But again, you can check out the 1 hour mark is usually when we try to do that. So if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor and hit the like button. Help us get to that first 100 likes. The gaming news has dried up a teeny bit right now, so we just sort of experiment with different kinds of live shows where we can just sort of take either gameplay footage or a topic and just kind of chop it up and just kind of look at it. I know people are already saying in the chat, they're like, I'm kind of sick of Souls games. Well, rest assured, this is not going to be a Souls game. I don't think you're going to feel like, oh no, I don't want to play this game, but it certainly seems to have some of those influences in it, which we're going to take a look at the boss fight in particular, where I'm seeing some of those elements So, yeah, guys, thank you already for a nice, strong start with the like count. You guys are the best. Those of you that pile in right at the beginning of the stream, man, you guys are killer, man. You're hitting like. You're doing the things. Appreciate you so much. Lost Soulaside is coming out at the wrong time. It has to compete with Metal Gear Delta and Gears of War. Unfortunately, it's because it got delayed, which maybe what you're saying leads to another short delay. Because that is not a great week to release your game. Now, they might not care, given that this is a China Hero Project game from a Chinese studio. So they could say, that's not really a market that's a threat to us. Gears of War probably primarily having, I would think, I'm just guessing here, an American audience, but in a European audience. I could be wrong about that, but they might not care. They might view it as a market difference that isn't really, much of a threat to them. Metal Gear, could be an issue, although it is basically a remake or a remaster, whatever you want to call it, of a classic. And I don't know how many of the newest sort of, audience members out there in gaming are going to be like, oh man, I've really, really got to go back and get my hands on that. I, for one, think that game looks like it's primarily made for fans, and that's probably a pretty big fan base, but I would imagine Lost Soulaside will probably be okay. But sometimes you just don't want to launch during a week or a launch window with other games because of the attention, right? The media, the YouTube outlets, the Twitter accounts, all those different things are going to be talking about Metal Gear and Gears, and so sometimes that can be an issue, just a matter of attention being drawn away from your game. So we'll see. They already delayed it once. It will be playable at upcoming events from what we've heard, and then this demo footage came out. I believe it came out of the China Joy event. Anyone remember the name of the Soulslike game coming set in a dilapidated version of London? It was announced around the same time as Lost Soulaside. The only thing I'm picturing in my mind is, are you talking about Duskbloods, that one that's like a Nintendo Switch exclusive? I think it's going to be a timed exclusive. I also think I'm fairly certain that's a multiplayer game. Oh, Tides of Annihilation. Maybe he's thinking of Tides of Annihilation. Yeah, that could be it as well. I feel like Duskbloods is the one in the dilapidated London, though, isn't it? Tides? Oh, that's the one you're thinking of? Tides of Annihilation. 2 minutes and 14-second trailer. It came out 5 minutes. No, you're right. Yeah, first major shot is we got Big Ben there. So yeah, you're correct. Sorry, I completely forgot that they set this in a dilapidated London. I don't know if Duskbloods is in any historic location. It might just sort of emanate that feel that, you've got like almost like the Gothic or Victorian buildings all kind of overgrown and run down. Yeah, this one looks a little crazy. This is the one that I think has clear Elden Ring influence in a lot of these designs of these big giant enemies. That's kind of, I think, where people are landing with the sort of Souls fatigue. Even if it's not a Souls game, there is clear influence from Souls. From anything FromSoft has ever done, when you just see these good, just gigantic, either almost like monolithic creatures, like they're made from like stone and stuff like this, or you've got the more sort of like grotesque and macabre creatures as well. Now, this one looks like it's going to be a little bit more in the vein of, again, of a hack and slash. Got some of the Devil May Cry combo influence as well. But again, I can't look at boss fights like this where you're in an arena, everything's frenetic, fast, and super challenging, and not see that Souls influence. No, I think that's well on topic. I think it's well on topic to say, is this sort of influencing gaming to the point that, like, again, there was a couple of videos recently, like Morse Critical's got one. I was probably going to do a stream about this, about Souls fatigue, and just kind of react to some of those videos. If there's one thing we need, it's more video games set in London. Hopefully, someone will do Los Angeles or New York City eventually. The characters look like they are ice skating on the world rather than existing in the game world. Well, obviously, they've got powers and stuff. She's, like, summoning, creatures to fight for her and stuff. So we're only about 10 minutes into the stream, guys. Make sure you get us those first 100 likes. That does really help. Anthony Robinson is faithful in the chat, telling you guys to get to work. And if you hit that subscribe button and that bell button, that does help out as well. If I'm never on your homepage on YouTube and you have to like go looking for the stream, you can always check your sub feed, but you can also always like unsubscribe, resubscribe, and hit that bell button. Sometimes that fixes it if I'm not hitting your homepage. I don't know. I would still say that it's still very action oriented. That is literally every action game ever. When you say every action game ever, are you responding to me, Omar, or are you responding to somebody in chat? Yo, Joker Quinn, Han shot first, and so did you. Starting off the day, getting us to 105. We were off to a slow start yesterday, but Shadow comes in and saves the day yesterday. There we go. Let's get that like that. What does summoning spells have to do with the ice skating look? That's, I mean, I believe it's influencing their movement. Because, like, she runs normal right here, watch. Yeah, she runs totally normal there. I think some of the times they were using, like, their powers to move around. Because she looks like she's moving normal, and then it also looks like she has, like, a dash, sort of like what you're describing as, like, a skate. I think it's a mixture of just, like, normal motion as well as, you know, dashes and iframes. So I just assumed you were speaking to, like, the movement of, again, it seems like they've got, like, powers. When she did the one slide down, it looked weird. I thought it looked fine. I mean, I think in games like this, it's always going to be a little bit different when you have people that are, like, moving around with powers. Ready for another crazy new... Yo, remember when I said Friday night? Yo, Pork Pie, I do remember what you said Friday night, and if that's something that you decide to do, you're a monster, because we've... we need it. I've been putting on a brave face, boys. We're doing what we can here. Oh my gosh. You are an absolute madman, Pork Pie. I have never seen this before. They just turned this feature on. They just made it available. I don't have an alert for it. Creature's out of town. I'll have to have him make an alert for it. This guy just did a 200 member bomb on Twitch. I don't even know what to say. There aren't even that many people watching on Twitch right now. They're going to be getting alerts and they're not watching. Like we took a bit of a hit when we went through the name change, and then a 5 bomb comes in from Wired Rope as well. We took a bit of a hit when we did the name change. And Twitch said that's actually normal. So that's going to take us to 310. Just like that, Pork Pie basically makes it to where he says YouTube war begun. MASH has to play catch up. So Pork Pie throwing down the gauntlet. I think you literally broke my combined chat app. Hang on. I've got to reset my combined chat app. It's not working. He broke the app. It wasn't working anymore. Jiminy Christmas. The art style's gotten incredibly stale for me. Don't know why. It's not bad. Just samey. It's not interesting visually. Well, when you say the art style, are you saying the art style of, like, Tides of Annihilation and Lost Soulaside do look kind of similar. It has that Final Fantasy 16 influence, like the very quick third-person movements, the sort of, like, it's almost like photorealism meets anime. Does that make sense? How do people describe the art style? That's how I would describe it. Maybe it's not the best description. Maybe somebody in chat has a better description. But that's just what I feel when I look at the images. I'm like, okay, yeah, I liked Final Fantasy 16. My only criticism was near the end, the boss fights got really long in the tooth. They just lasted way too long. It was like a 45-minute boss fight. I thought they could have cut the boss fights in half. I thought the bosses looked incredible. The spectacle was incredible. The animations, all of it. They just went on for an eternity, it felt like at times. And I just felt like that it sort of makes the fun factor start to wane and fade. If 50 is the Death Star, what's 200? I don't know. An exploding universe, I guess. And everybody's spamming the farty bomb. For those of you who don't know, my son calls 50 bombs farty bombs. So there is a farty bomb emote. I did not. MASH was not around yesterday, and neither was Pathalon Phoenix. So YouTube has their work cut out for themselves today. Pork Pie dropping a 200 bomb, the first ever. I've never had a 200 gifted before because they literally just made it possible. And then a 5 bomb from Wired Rope to add on to it. Did you mark your calendar for the Nintendo Indie Showcase? I'm seeing that it is. Yes, I'm seeing that it's in 2 days at 9 in the morning. I suppose we can co-stream that. YouTube playing catch-up. Yeah, YouTube's usually well out in the lead. Eugene says it's the Renaissance-style architecture and clothing that's getting annoying for me. So we've definitely seen a lot of that, and I mean, I don't mind it. I think what happens is we saw this start to happen with the Unreal games, like games that were coming out in Unreal. They all sort of had like this Fortnite-ified feel where everything looks a bit cartoonish. Everything's like very colorful, purple, and a lot of purple. There was a lot of purple there for a while. And it's weird how these trends emerge. It's sort of like the Killmonger hairstyle. We've all kind of joked about that, about how literally, like, I don't know what was going on, but like every black guy in every game suddenly had the Killmonger hairstyle. I think that one's a little bit easier to trace. Like Michael B. Jordan looked so cool in Black Panther. Everyone was like, that hairstyle is really cool, let's use it. And then all the games come out 3 and 4 years later, and it's that Spider-Man meme where they're all ponying at each other like, oops, we all use the same cool hairstyle. Which I suppose is a step in the right direction instead of like, bald braids or afro. Like, black dudes usually have very limited hairstyle choices in games. And so it did make sense. I think that one made sense. Everybody thought like, why is everybody doing this? This is kind of silly, but I think it was easy to deduce how it happened. One of the more prominent Marvel movies in the last decade, one of the more popular ones that did very well, had a character in it with what you would describe as, I think, pretty cool hair. Like it was, it was part of his presence, I think, in the movie, especially when he's in the museum and he's got like the jean jacket on and the glasses. Like he just had a feel, and not surprising at all that people were like, well, let's use that hairstyle for our character. So I do think that sometimes when you look at games like Lost Soulaside, it's easy to think like, man, I'm tired of this art style, but you do have to wonder, like, is this an emergence from, games that have been very popular and have done a good job with it? Whether, I guess we would think it's coming from Elden Ring, and FromSoft in general. Sort of I feel like we've become very enthralled with and obsessed with post-apocalyptic, and not in a way that is zombies, but in a way that's beautified. Does that make sense? I'm coming up with this literally on the fly right now. It feels to me like we really like to set the stage of games, movies, and certain things in environments that feel like the end of the world has happened, and yet beauty is like enduring. Like even though the buildings are toppled, dystopian gothic, but there's like an enduring beauty. And I think these types of buildings and structures, it's easier to do that with. Like if you did like a post-apocalyptic American suburb or like an American city, there's the beauty doesn't endure in the same way in the buildings and the architecture. It would just be like, oh, that's an overgrown neighborhood. Like you can probably find neighborhoods in America right now that kind of look like that, right? If you go to like poor parts of the country, you could probably find suburban areas where the grass is overgrown, the houses have been vacated, rusted out cars are in the front yard, the tires are gone. You can find ghost towns that seem like something that you would see in like The Walking Dead or something right now. So I wonder if that's why the art style is leaning in that direction, because it's like we want it to look post-apocalyptic and destroyed, and yet you want some transcendent form of beauty within the actual art style, if that makes sense. But yeah, I thought First Berserker Kazan, as far as an art style goes, I really think they nailed it. One of the things about First Berserker, I said similar things about Hi-Fi Rush. I've said similar things about Borderlands. I feel like these games will always look quote-unquote good. Like there'll be something about them that's visually appealing. because they're not locked in this sort of, we're in this interplay, this valley of, well, it's sort of photorealistic, sorry. It has a realism look to it, but in 10 years, we will probably think that some of these games look a little bit dated. Although, this is actually really converging with yesterday's topic with the PlayStation 6 and future power and all of that. I do think there's something to be said for, over the next 5 or 10 years, there's not going to be these enormous leaps. I think games will look cooler, better, and more refined, but I don't think you're going to turn on a game in 10 years and be like, this kicks the crap out of, like what's a really good-looking game like now, like Death Stranding 2. I don't think in 10 years you're going to turn around and be like, oh man, that Death Stranding 2 doesn't look anything like this. I think games right now that are in that sort of valley of photorealistic while also looking very good, like the characters in Death Stranding 2 are actually very impressive, especially within the cutscenes. But the world itself, the lighting, all of that, I think they did a very good job. And I think it's going to age really well. Mainly because we're getting depreciating returns from power. Like, I think we're just getting depreciating returns from the hardware itself, so you're not going to see these insane leaps. You can also only get so realistic with lighting, shadows, and people and environments and trees, right? So it wouldn't surprise me at all if a lot of these games end up aging really, really well, even though they're in art styles and they're in approaches to graphical fidelity that are a little more tenuous. Like, I think First Berserker Kazan will always look kind of cool, kind of living anime, kind of comic bookish, kind of graphic novelish. It'll always look that way. And so it's not, I don't think necessarily like a danger of, oh, well, yeah, in a couple of years we'll think that kind of looks bad. So hitbox detection is all it takes to make Lost Soulaside. Yeah, we'll be looking at the footage. If you guys are looking for Lost Soulaside gameplay, I will do the gameplay reaction. There's a lot of new footage. There's a new weapons video. There's a brand new Lost Soulaside demo video that came out of a China Joy event. We'll be taking a look at it. Why I'm saying it feels sort of like Final Fantasy 16 meets Soulslike. It's not a Souls-like game, but I'm seeing influences of that in some of the boss design, in some of the arena-style fights that are typical in those games. Only recently, the hairstyle in video games had a breakthrough. That's why the Killmonger style was implemented so heavy at the time. It was before that update. I'll post an article in Discord. Okay. You have to build and put the foundation in place for a new great IP. I'm not seeing this from many of these games. Well, I do wonder if we look at some of the games coming out of the China Hero project. I do wonder if that's as big of a need, Paul. Like, do you just need, like, is the fixation, with art style and identity, I don't know, is that more of a Western thing? Like, what if, because when I look at some of the history of, and we look at some of the combat coming out of games from like a Japanese or a Chinese company, they do seem to focus more on the frenetic combat, the gameplay itself, and it doesn't feel like the art style is like, oh man, we got to make sure the art style looks incredible. Like, because when I look at Phantom Blade Zero, and then I look at Lost Soulaside, and then I look at Tides of Annihilation, I'm like, they seem to be focusing more on the frenetic nature of the combat. Appearance does seem to matter. Everybody's beautiful. Everyone looks almost like dolls. Like, they just have this, like, very serene-like look. I don't know. I wonder. Yeah, Wukong definitely had a very unique art style. That is one that I think is fair to point out and say, like, that game had a very cool feel. Unfortunately, it had the performance issues on console that's kind of plagued the game to this day. Look at Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, Ninja Gaiden, classic iconic IP and gameplay. Yeah, that's fair. There are certainly games that have that look and that feel. But is it fair to pick out those standouts? Aren't there a bunch of games that also kind of look like Bayonetta? I mean, I'm asking. I'm not familiar with that kind of genre. I feel like anytime I see Bayonetta, I feel like I've seen a ton of games that kind of look like that. Devil May Cry, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would say that I feel like I have seen games that kind of look like that. Now, those other games could be copying Devil May Cry and Bayonetta. Ninja Gaiden, yeah, I would say there's a lot of games that look like that, but maybe it's the Elden Ring effect, right? Those are popular games, so a bunch of other studios ended up copying or taking inspiration from the look and feel. Stellar Blade, if you were to, swap out Eve for any other character, a lot of what happens in Stellar Blade also feels very much like games that we've played before. You have these giant, sort of grotesque, macabre-like monsters. You have a normal-sized person with a very large sword, and they're, fighting the boss in a set arena. Like, that is a very, very common thing that we've seen. And I would say a lot of that comes from the FromSoft games, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, then Dark Souls 1 through 3, even Sekiro, as well as Bloodborne, and then Elden Ring. That's a very common, trope in these games. To set a stage, set an arena, you go in, it's this larger-than-life creature, and you're just in there with a big sword. I mean, that seems like something that a lot of games have taken inspiration from, and I don't know if we can even attribute it all to FromSoft, but I would say that's a very, very common thing in the FromSoft games and in the FromSoft sort of, way of designing, video games. As Kojima said, it's hard to make Japanese, Asian realistic models. Probably that's why we have a bunch of anime babes and relatively realistic art style. Devil May Cry did that 20 years ago. Very anime inspired. There's tons of examples of tiny superpowered dude taking on ridiculously massive beasts. So would you say the history of it would then be traced to like actual other forms of entertainment? The video games are actually a reflection of other mediums, is what you're saying? Because I don't watch a lot of that or keep up to date with a lot of that stuff. I think Lost Soulaside will be fun and beautiful game, but I guess we'll never know until they come out. We'll do some analysis of the gameplay here shortly. Appreciate you guys tuning in and being here. As Kojima said, I already read that. Lost Soulaside looks like a Platinum Games banger. I've had my pre-order for months. Well, the developer is Ultizero Games, and I don't know, have they done much else, Ultizero? Because they're part of the China Hero project, and I don't know if I'm seeing, are they known for anything else? I don't know if have we seen anything else from them? Is this their debut game? This might possibly be their debut game. It's not platinum level at all. It's a company in Shanghai that was founded in 2017. It operates as a video game developer focusing on casual games. They raised $1 million funding from Tencent. They have, I don't know what this active competitors is, 11,000 active competitors, including 459 funded, 361. Its top competitors are Zynga Triple. Yeah, this website seems to have a very confusing view of them as being like a mobile game competitor. Like they were comparing them to like Zynga and stuff. Not really sure. So I'm seeing other reports indicating that they did form in 2016 or 2017. I'm seeing that stated elsewhere as well. It was one dude developing it first, then he got his studio together for it. That's right. Yeah, this is the game that did have the one guy, and then they basically formed a studio, and he's still there. First game inspired by FF15. So it's inspired by FF15, not 16. Okay. I see the FF16, but I guess they're all kind of connected. But after playing FF16, when I looked at a lot of this, it looked to me like, oh, wow. Yeah, that's very much influenced by that. The scythe looks sick, though. Yeah, we'll take a look at the weapons trailer, because the weapons trailer does show off, I think. If you guys haven't seen it, there's like a Lost Soulaside weapons video that, showcases all the different things you can use in the game. Miyazaki is famously influenced by Berserk manga, or I've seen people pronounce it manga. A Denmark zoo is asking people to donate unwanted pets as food for its predators. I mean, that's more useful than just euthanizing them, I guess. I mean, will they euthanize them and then feed them to the animals so that's like not like a miserable death? I'd be curious how they're going to do that. Like letting poor little, 18-year-old Jack run around in a zoo only to be like ripped apart by something would not have been a very pleasant way to go. It was originally a one-man game 8 years ago, announced for the PS4. He gradually got more funding and support and grew into a full team. It'll be interesting to see how big the scope is. Okay, so manga is correct. Kojima and the creator of Uzumaki are also best friends. Cross-media influence is most certainly a thing. I wonder if there's history in this with one small character taking on a giant monster. I wonder if we could trace this all the way back to Gojira. Like, is there cinematic history there? Also, is that supposed to be sort of the embodiment of what happens, with, nuclear bombs going off? Like, was that supposed to be sort of a depiction of that? Like this monster from the sea or from across the sea that comes and kind of destroys everything? Was that supposed to be somewhat symbolic? And did that then start to influence other forms of media, like all the way going back to, again, like Gojira, like your earliest renditions of Godzilla? I wonder if you could go all the way back there. Fairy tales, right, but I'm just talking like within Asian cinema and comics and cartoons. Is there a pretty heavy influence of the big giant monster? Like, obviously, fairy tales. And MASH is here and enforcing a 50 bomb comes in from MASH. And he says, hey, Mr. Twitch over there, who dropped a 200 bomb today, which means, I don't even know what that means. That means I owe 20 to Purple. I'm supposed to do 5 every 50, right? So, yeah, that's 2 10s. Yeah, so I owe that, and then MASH just made me now owe a little bit as well over here, and so I'm going to go ahead and pay that 20 forward to Purple. We greatly appreciate it. I had to back off. The 5 every 25 was being a little counterproductive, but 5 every 50 is still something I want to do. I want to celebrate and give you guys and pay it forward. MASH is not powerful enough to beat Twitch. He says we have our own. He just dropped another one. Another 50 bomb comes in from MASH. MASH is like, listen, he's like, I was in a meeting, but I took that 200 bomb personal. He seemingly took that personal, and that is insane. That is absolutely insane that this is even happening. Speaking of Gojira and kaijus, we have our own kaijus here going to war. YouTube will cut him off. I don't know. He's gone kind of crazy before, and I don't think they cut him off typically. But I'm not quite sure how he pulls it off. Somebody says, bro ain't seen MASH drop 450 bombs. Maybe he taps in his buddy Pathalon, or maybe you guys all join forces with him like Voltron. I don't know, but this is insane on a Tuesday. Listen, we're finding our way with the content. We are finding our way with the content, man. The live streams on YouTube and YouTube's treatment of us has been super unreliable. I feel like every day I'm confused, but the continued support from you guys, we've obviously got our monster users, but the daily resubs, the daily single gifteds, that is what keeps this thing going, man. We are not in a position to rely on YouTube. There's been a handful of creators that I've watched recently. There's been a handful of other creators I've watched recently. They're all spinning up Patreons. So I think it's site-wide. I think something's going on YouTube, and the bigger YouTubers that are very dependent on ad revenue are they're like, I can't rely on this anymore. I've got to spin up a Patreon. More and more folks are doing that. I think there's something going on site-wide. So your direct support with memberships is an enormous aspect of what I do here. We can't rely on them. They're implementing a lot of stuff with AI and stuff, and I think it's just breaking stuff. So we're just kind of riding the wave. There's lows and highs every time. So MASH has said, I'll do another 50 if someone else or 2 people do some 20 bombs. So Mash is throwing down a gauntlet. He's like, I'll do another 50. He's like, but I want some 20 bombs out there. So chat, let them know as they come in. We've got a bit of a gauntlet. And I tell you what helps more people come in is smashing that like button. A lot of people today finding the stream. We're going to be looking at some Lost Soul Aside gameplay. I'll be doing a Lost Soul Aside gameplay reaction. There's a lot of new footage. There's weapon video. There's a demo coming out of the China Joy event. Most of you are finding this from notifications, suggested videos, and like your browse homepage. So thank you so much for clicking on the video. I hope you guys are enjoying yourself. Get us to that 200 like count. That really does help us. We're only about halfway through that first hour. Everything is destroyed, but everything looks like the French Renaissance is going on. Yeah, that's been a pretty consistent here. I'm sorry, Sorcerer, with, speaking of 50, a 50-month resubscription from Sorcerer. That is a big one, man. That is a lot of months. A lot of you guys have stuck by me all this time, and we just continue to do the show and continue to create the content, and we really appreciate y'all. I downloaded Liza P from PS Plus. Oh, well, I hope you enjoy it, Lady Gamer. When is the video? I usually do it about 1 hour into the broadcast. We've been doing reaction content in a very specific way. I either pick somebody's video that is a couple of days old, like we did Moore's Law is Dead. We checked out his video yesterday. And I usually do it about 1 hour into the broadcast. I don't want to serve as a replacement, and I don't want to hurt a video that's brand new. When I'm reacting to gameplay, even though it's not like a content creator's video, I still like putting it about 1 hour in. It gives us an opportunity to kind of talk, set the table. Is China Joy still going on? I think it ended like yesterday, didn't it? Or maybe it ends today. I think it was like over the weekend and into the week, I believe. I expected to see more games and footage. There were really great threads on Twitter, Maloon, but I don't know what's the deal with, there's like no videos on YouTube. I thought the same thing. A $2 super chat from Dark Taco says, Happy Tuesday, everyone. Thank you, Dark Taco. I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know if Days Gone is hinting at anything. They do that. Insomniac does that. They'll just randomly tweet stuff, and like everybody gets all in a tizzy. There was a time where Bend, wasn't it Bend, that made it seem like they were going to go to, there was an event coming up, and they were going to go to it, and they like made it seem like they were going to be there, and then they weren't there, and it was like, why the frick would you tweet in the beginning, like in the lead up to an event like that? So I don't know. They could just be having a giggle or a goof. People are speculating they think Days Gone will be coming to Xbox. I have said if they do start bringing other games to Xbox in addition to Helldivers 2, it would be games already ported to PC. That would make the most sense to me, especially PS4 games. So we'll see, because I think they'd have an easier time porting PS4 games to the Series S. I don't know if they're going to want to port PS5 games like Spider-Man 2. So if they do decide to start moving more games over there, I would imagine it would fall under with what Shuhei Yoshida said, where like porting games is like printing money because it's so cheap to do. What is this? There must be like a huge scam going on now with job opportunities. Hang on, I got some resubs here. Evidence with 31 months in the VIP. Never looked back when I joined. Keep moving forward. Thank you, sir. Anthony with 24 months in Member Plus. Lono, 2 years. This makes you my new best friend. Now count it, please. It's not a 50 bomb mash, but I do what I can. A 26 month from Brett says keep on keeping on. And Victor with a 51 month VIP. Can't come close to mash, but I can throw a handful of pennies. Hey, man, those add up. That's 4 renewals. Listen, guys, you do not need to be dropping these bombs like mash. When you guys are paying for your own membership, when you're on a Member Plus or a VIP, that is one of the single greatest things we need right now. We cannot have any expectancy in our bones about MASH and Pork Pie and these other guys that go crazy. We're not entitled to that generosity. We cannot count on that generosity. That is something that they do of their own choice. Directly supporting the content with your own membership is the single greatest way to, protect a channel from all of the nonsense that goes on these platforms. I really mean it. I like these people that have to spin up Patreons. I don't want to have to do anything like that. We got such a good home here. Let's just, let's do the things. Let's do the things. Now, if you can't, Mash goes crazy. I gift. Other people gift. So, but y'all that are on member pluses and VIPs, you don't need to apologize for not dropping 50 bombs. Like, that's one of the biggest things we've been focusing on, is getting folks to grab those member pluses. Lost Soul Aside looks more like Devil May Cry than anything. Certainly a lot of influence. Certainly a lot of influence from lots of games. Final Fantasy, Devil May Cry. I'm telling you, I see Soul's influence. We'll take a look at the footage here in a minute. Hit the like or Lono starts an OnlyFans. Yes, I do not want to start an OnlyFans, so please give me your member pluses and spare the world my pasty white thighs. And Ashton Hollow with 47 months and a member plus, thank you so much. That gets us to 416. I'm doing my part, stares at the camera. That's right. Seriously, $6 a month, man. It really does. Like, I've been watching a lot of Jack Saint stuff, and that guy has a pretty large channel, and even he does a Patreon. And that guy's got a huge channel. So direct support is immense for what a lot of these folks out here doing content creation do. And we just funnel it right into the channel so you don't have to go anywhere else. I like it that way, personally. Love your shirt. That was my first system as a kid. Just aged myself. That's okay to age yourself. The Coleco is a fantastic system. Like, the Coleco holds a special place in my heart. It was the first system in our home as well. My dad still has it and got it working with an adapter recently. We have not watched the gameplay yet. We'll probably check it out in about 20 minutes. Do me a favor, if you haven't hit the like button yet, hit the like button. Try to get us to 200 likes really, really quickly. That is super helpful. What is this Cats on Duty game? What is this? Cats on Duty? Is it a... Oh. It looks like it's a bunch of different games. Oh, it's kind of like a Plant vs. Zombie game, but Minecraft. That's the first time hearing about this game. I guess it's like releasing right now. Anyway. I just saw that from Insider Gaming, and I'm like, what the heck is this? Call of Duty Black Ops 7 reveal is going to be at Opening Night Live, Gamescom, August the 19th at 11 a.m. Pacific. So there's a lot of things coming up that week. Opening Night Live, we'll be going, what is that? Noon 1, 2, G-Mini Christmas. I picked a really bad day to be getting lunch with somebody. I might have to reschedule that. I'm going to put this in the Discord so we don't forget. I thought all the Gamescom stuff was like super early in the day, so when this guy scheduled lunch with me, I was like, yeah, 3:30 should be totally fine. Unfortunately, yeah. You guys can go ahead and submit questions anytime that you want, and they can pop up like this. This is a perk of being a member or a sub, whichever platform you're on. Mash says here, Nate the Hate has said he heard more Sony games are being ported to Xbox, but he believes it will still be live service in smaller games. No God of War or Last of Us, for example. Thoughts? Well, I thought it was interesting that everybody was very quick to use him in the argumentation, but the minute he said that, it was all quiet on the Western Front. That did seem rather interesting to me, that it went from like, oh yeah, more are coming, everyone's starting to, run around and like flex their chest and say, whole slate. But then he's like, yeah, it's probably just like smaller games or live service games. Like that's his theory. So again, you gotta think, a lot of the times these guys are going to theorize based on what they're hearing, like based on the rumblings. And so that's probably why he's saying that, is he's like, yeah, it's probably not going to be any of the mainline titles. They were really quick to dismiss his Fable delay comments as well. Yeah, I mean, his Fable comments were dismissed. He was described as that he was stroking his ego. He was sort of, I would say, I think he was treated in a very unprofessional way after what he said about Fable. I thought that was very unprofessional, and I thought that was very it was unkind to speak of him in that way. I don't feel like he did anything that warranted that response. And when he said the stuff about, more Sony games coming, I would hope that nobody did the same thing from the other side of the aisle and decided to be like mean and unkind to him. Like G-Mini Christmas, It's just somebody talking about games and like what they have heard. It's not that serious. It never has been that serious. I think people need to calm down. They've been generally pretty right, as far as I can recall. Yeah, and he has sources at Xbox, as far as we can tell. And yeah, my estimation is it's either live service, smaller games, or it's games that have already been ported. PlayStation 4 games that have already been ported to PC. It's in those categories. That's been my prediction. I could obviously be wrong, but that's the general vibe that I get. So, and Lost Soul Aside, I think is sort of a game that supports my idea here, in that, you know, PlayStation's goals with the China Hero project and games like Lost Soul Aside is to grow the console market in China. Well, it'd be really counterproductive to be trying to grow your console market in China while going a route that many have described as one that sort of devalues the console. Like, do you see what I'm saying? It's all connected. The investments in China Hero project with games like Lost Soul Aside, the one that we're covering today, is a sign that they're like, yes, we are invested in the hardware. The thing we covered just yesterday with Moore's Law is Dead and his video on the PlayStation 6, and he's got some timing things wrong with the handheld. I will tell you that. But it's all tied together. Like, I don't see a jettison of all of these things they're investing in. You know, they've got China Hero project. You've got games. We're going to be looking at Lost Soul Aside gameplay shortly, and this is one of their investments, you know, in growing their platform. You've got AMD, you've got Project Amethyst. We've got these things that we're hearing about keeping costs down for the future PlayStation, you know, the PlayStation 6 and the PlayStation handheld. None of these things make sense if you're going to jettison all those value points and be like, yeah, full slate, we're going to put everything over there. That would, to me, feel like a dissonance, like a corporate level dissonance. And if that's happening, then there would be conflict within the C-suite, and I would say that would be actually jeopardizing of the company's profitability if they don't have similar goals and ideals and aims at what they are to be doing. We got a very unified front from Microsoft. They were all saying the same thing. It was ignored. It was largely ignored by the same people who are now saying the things that they're saying. It was largely ignored. They ignored Phil Spencer. They ignored the CFO. They ignored Satya Nadella. Right now, I feel like if you go to the C-suite, Sony has been very consistent. They're all saying similar things. There's no disagreement. Moore's episode that came out today, he talks more about the handheld, also says he can't release everything because he is being safe. I will say that I'm being careful talking about the handheld as well. That's about all I can say. The handheld itself, I understand. I have a greater picture and a greater understanding now of why he's being careful. All I'll say is he's got timing incorrect. That's all I'll say. He's got the timing incorrect on when it'll release. So, again, you know, and Lost Soul Aside is just one of many. It's just one of many. There are so many other games. And I wish that more was coming out of the China Joy event. Because, you know, there's Exilage. There is that Sands of something. I forget the name of it now. I put them all in a video. I've got a video about this very, very topic. If you guys go to my channel, I've got a video about the next 4 years from PlayStation. And Lost Soul Aside is obviously a part of that, right? Obviously a part of that. And I thought there were timestamps in this video. There are. Why are they not listed below? Oh, they're chapters. Okay, Daba Land of Water, Brocade Claw Guard. Like, those are just a couple of the games. I thought... Oh, I did it during my live stream of the Secret Weapon. I'm sorry. I'm getting myself confused. Okay, so the PlayStation Secret Weapon live stream is where those timestamps are. I was like, I'm confusing myself. Daba Land of Water Scar, Exilage, Brocade Clad Guard, Unending Dawn. and Convaleria. Those are 5 games in the China Hero project that you probably haven't even heard of that I showcased during that Secret Weapon stream. I believe that stream and that take is going to age rather well, because if they can have success in the Chinese market, I think many people are going to say they're doing what seems to be impossible. They're sort of growing their platform. Jay Walkaway, thank you so much for using your Prime sub on me, adding to the monstrous lead that Twitch has. Now listen to me, that's a 200 bomb, and MASH has already done 250 bombs. MASH is calling on you guys on YouTube. He says he'll drop another 50 bomb if we get some 20 bombs. He says he wanted 220 bombs. He's trying to catch Twitch, and he's asking for your help. So put the bat signal out there. Get the big boys in here, all right? And thank you for following William. I think you follow me also on YouTube, but thank you for doing that. I appreciate everybody hitting the follow button. And everybody who's hitting the like button on YouTube, thank you so much for doing that. Try to get us to 200 likes as quickly as you possibly can. It helps the video. It helps us find more folks. One of these days, Game Pass will be on Sony and Nintendo hardware. I don't think so at all. I don't know why anybody would think that. Nintendo doesn't want that. PlayStation doesn't want that. Xbox doesn't want that. There's nobody in the equation that wants that subservice on another platform. It doesn't make any sense. And a 20 bomb comes in from Charles Freeman. And he says, hey, boys, we cannot let purple win. This is the way. And that's going to take us to 436. Good golly. I owe you guys a lot of members over there. And MASH is going to need one more to satisfy his gauntlet that he threw down. Does he know we have 200 bombs? He's fighting the wrong side. I mean, Hilly, I don't know if Pork Pie can drop another one. That's absolutely absurd. And a 20 bomb comes in from Hidden Seiryu, and they're surging back. YouTube is not at all taking this one laying down, and you love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. Look how fast things can change. We were off to a slow start yesterday, and you guys are going to hit the goal on a dadgum Tuesday. I don't know if I can do another. Hang on a minute. We might have to come up with a new incentive. Hang on. I tell you what we should probably do. Instead of doing those, like, community game nights. And a 50 bomb from MASH. He's a man of his word. And there it is. The member count already at that one. At the milestone for Friday night. Jiminy frickin' Christmas. And that is going to take the member battle to 198 to 206. Purple still winning the day. Oh, MASH should come over here. He says we have animated emotes. MASH, you're being summoned to Purple to drop 200 bombs. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he likes YouTube. I'm fine. Who's saying that if Microsoft didn't make a massive offer, they would greatly befit Sony? Sony would just shrug it off. What I'm telling you, none of the parties involved are interested in Game Pass going on PlayStation and Nintendo, brother. I want you to really think about what you're saying. Xbox spent over or close to $100 billion, switched to a publishing strategy, and they're going to undercut that strategy with Game Pass on Nintendo and Xbox. It makes no sense. They make a bundle. They make an absolute bundle selling games on PlayStation. Why would they do that? It doesn't make any sense. Benefits? What benefits? If it's so beneficial, then why has Xbox done what they've done, brother? Why have they switched to a publishing strategy? Why do they spend so much money to get property? If that is needed, and a 10 bomb comes in from Charles Freeman, and there it is. It's now 208 to 206. Well, there you have it, Twitch. You are now behind, but Victor's going to give him a fighting chance. Victor's going to renew and get it to 207 to 208. Thank you so much, Victor, for supporting me on both platforms. You are the man. You guys that use your primes, if you have primes, use them. And Hilly is not taking this down. Hilly drops a 5 bomb. Is that your first one? No. Hilly's done some singles up to now. That's 7. He says, I called them. Yeah, Pork Pie says, I called them out. You did indeed. It is now 212 to 208, and the member count goes up. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Hilberg, as my daughter affectionately calls you. I'm telling you, it doesn't make an ounce of sense They had 5 games on the best-selling games on PlayStation for the quarter. Neither Sony nor Microsoft would want to disrupt that for crappy Game Pass subs. That's what I'm saying. There is not a universe where PlayStation or Xbox looks at that sales chart and says, you know what we should do? We should put Game Pass on PlayStation. That's just not going to happen. It isn't. Welcome back, William, on a gifted member. If you guys want your membership to count on YouTube, it needs to be a Member Plus. So use the upgrade command in chat and upgrade, and you'll count every month toward the total. You'll also make room for others in the gifted pool. I could see it both ways. Seems they are way more in love with Game Pass subs than game sales. Okay, let's just test what you've claimed with observation and logic. You think they're more in love with Game Pass subs than game sales. Okay, let's just analyze this with observation and logic. They just took a bunch of their property to PlayStation, and they were on the top of the charts for virtually every one of those games on a platform that absolutely dwarfs their own, on a platform that dwarfs their Game Pass subscriber base. So if we observe this and we use logic, I do not think you're correct in your assessment that they care more, or that, as you're saying, they're more in love with Game Pass subs than game sales. Absolutely not. They are very, very much enjoying game sales right now. They are one of the most successful publishers, like, already, like overnight. I don't see anything that indicates that they care more about Game Pass subs than sales. They seemingly care more about sales than that, because look at what they did. They took their property to platforms that are no longer seen as competitors, according to the CFO. I don't know what to tell you. I don't think your observation is correct. I don't think even the most diehard Xbox fans that I've interacted with don't seem to think that Game Pass going to other platforms is part of the strategy. I just don't think so. And what was one thing that Phil Spencer was willing to say they're not planning to do when he did the interview with Windows Central at the end of 2023? He said, we have no plans to put Game Pass on PlayStation and Nintendo. And you go like, well, no plans doesn't mean it couldn't happen in the future. It was the only thing he was willing to definitively speak to. He wouldn't definitively speak to first-party games. He wouldn't definitively take anything off the table when he did the interview with Verge the day that the 4 Games podcast happened. If he's willing to definitively say, we don't have plans to put Game Pass on PlayStation and Nintendo, and wants that to be a headline, I would say it's very unlikely that it ever happens. I don't think it's part of their goal. I don't think it's part of their business strategy or plan. If they were in love with Game Pass, they would have given a free PS5 code to all Game Pass owners. Yeah, maybe. They increased the pricing of Game Pass tiers on console, making it more expensive. Yeah. And again, we don't want to get too far off topic. We're going to be doing a Lost Soul Aside gameplay reaction. And this is very much an ongoing conversation right now, right? And I do think it's related to the China Hero project. I do think it's related to, PlayStation's strategy of we want to grow. We want to grow this thing that we've invested money in. I think that is going to be a consistent thing. I don't think they're going to step away from that. I don't think they're going to back away from that at all. Guys, do me a favor really, really quickly and drop some likes on YouTube. And you're going to need to drop some more members because a 50 bomb just came in from Pork Pie over here on Purple. He's like, all right, I take it personal when you guys are going to undercut my 200 bomb. And he took it personal. He did. He felt that one deep in his bones. And Twitch is back on top at 262. Jiminy frickin' Christmas. And you broke my chat again, Pork Pie. You broke my chat. I can't. I gotta close and reopen my combined chat. It doesn't know what to do. It doesn't know what to do when he does this. Frickin' Pork Pie, absolutely breaking my application. He says, I'm here for it. You guys are insane. I truly mean it. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I was a little discouraged this morning. I was like, I don't think we have a strong show. We are waiting for some better things to happen. Gaming has slowed down a little bit. I was like a little discouraged. I was like, well, we'll see how it goes. And y'all are bringing the heat. I don't know what to say. 100 million subs. They didn't even get halfway yet. Oh yeah, the goals on subs. Yeah, I think a lot of the commentary on that is I don't know. I don't know if they ever actually thought they were going to get there. Can we go over build options for the next Xbox on PC Part Picker? Did you Gangs, did you see my tweet? They have 38 million. It's growing slowly. I don't. Where did you get the 38 million number? Have they said 38 million? Was that in the recent earnings thing? Paul with 9 months in a VIP. Good morning, Lono. What game do you recommend getting on PS5 this month? This month, I would say probably. I don't know. I don't know what you're playing. I don't know what your interests are. I mean, I really enjoyed Death Stranding too. You made a comment on it. By the way, you're Rumble to 40. Oh, that's you. Okay. That was good work right there. Zubair. So I made a tweet and I said, because I'm just trying to bring some levity to the foolishness. I'm just trying to bring some levity here, boys. You know, and I said, the question that nobody is brave enough to ask: when will PC Part Picker change its name to Xbox Part Picker? Because I mean, did you guys know you'll be able to build your own Xbox in the future? That, well, actually, you can do that. And you've actually been able to do it for a really, actually, I mean, you've been able to do it for a super long time. But did you know that you'll be able to do it in the future, as well as right now, and as well as last year and all the years before? I mean, this is exciting times, boys. It's exciting times. Anyway, Chad. Anyway, I don't want to use anybody's names for clicks, so we're just laughing. We're just having a fun. We're just being goofy. Truly an amazing accomplishment. It really is. The peak dev response to the Roblox copy Cliff after it surpasses 160,000 plays. Would rather you pirate our game than play this microtransaction riddled slop ripoff. Boom! Like, that's pretty good response. That's pretty good. It's not bad. They're like, we would rather you just pirate our game, please. Don't play this crap. What do the kids say? They say they say based? I think we're supposed to say based. Let's take that back. Let's act like I didn't. Let's make a real clip. I'm trying to go viral. Like, I want to be like I'm this real Twitch streamer. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. I don't know if you saw it. Peak Dev responds to Roblox copy Cliff after it surpasses 163,000 plays. Says, would rather you pirate our game than play this microtransaction riddled slop ripoff. That's based. That's pretty based. Yo. Bet. Say less. I don't know what else to say. Okay. We should go viral. We'll get a lot more followers today. I'm bringing my A game to the content. No zoom in. Oh yeah, sorry. Based. Sorry. This is worse than when you said tight. Hilly, do you have a journal? You're like, the times that Lono has hurt my heart with saying terrible things. When he said tight. And now, August 5th, in the year of our Lord 2025, when Lono said based. Oh, my word. I love the way the online community latches on to funny word slop. Is great. It always gets me. The gall of this man, that's right. I did not donate these gifts for these phrases. Pork pie. Pork pie with the buyer's remorse. Listen, you cannot get your money back for that. It's already been spent. It's already been spent on my I need to replace my entire heating and air unit in the house. So I'm sorry. Your money has already been allocated. So, all right, we best move on now. Anyway, Blind Darkness, thank you so much for 3 months of subscriptions over here on Purple. Hey, using your Prime is a great way to support what I do. If you guys are already paying for Amazon Prime, you get a Prime sub to my Purple channel every single month. It's included, so you're not spending anything extra, but it does support me. It really, really does. The vivacity coming from this channel is too much. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, yes, Lost Soul Aside. Sorry. Let's try to get to 200 likes, y'all, before I start pulling up this video for us to react to. There's a lot to react to here. Lost Soul Aside gameplay is the docket for today. In next gen, do you think Xbox will still try to have a dock non-handheld version of a PC console that's more powerful than the PS6, or is the juice no longer worth the squeeze? So we were talking about that yesterday. If the actual next Xbox is more powerful at like a raw hardware level, I don't think it'll have the AI benefits, machine learning benefits, the ray tracing, and they'll have ray tracing. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the stuff that Cerny's investing in with AMD will likely make the PS6 impressive in other ways. And I think that the console from Xbox will naturally need to be stronger if it is, in fact, a console PC hybrid that can sideload Steam. That also means it likely won't be very cheap. So it's going to be a very interesting situation if this all comes to fruition, like everything we're hearing about. It's like this Xbox thing lands in 2026 or 7 and is more expensive than people anticipate. And then if the PS6 lands later and is cheaper than people anticipate. Because it sounds like the platforms are aiming at really different targets. Again, PlayStation's aiming at keeping costs down from the leaks that we looked at yesterday with Moore's Law is Dead, and Xbox is seemingly aiming at having something that's more technologically impressive by the very nature of the fact that it's going to be able to sideload Steam. It will have to be it'll have to be a slightly impressive machine, will it not? Anyway, we've got to pull up this footage. That's what's on the thumb, and let me see where folks are coming from here. Are we climbing in the search results? No, we are primarily getting found on Browse and Suggest. So people are finding me off of a brand new open world game Sword of Justice video. That's where we're getting recommended right now. So let's take a look at that video and see what in the world's going on here. The name of the video is Brand New Open World Game Sword of Justice. I can't find. Hang on. Let's just put it in parentheses or quotes here and see if we can't find the exact new. Are we getting recommended on a short? It looks like we're getting recommended on a short. How is that even frickin' possible? There are no recommends on a short. It's a Jor Raptor video. It looks like. I like Jor Raptor's stuff. But Sword of Justice is another one. Let's take a look at that one before we dive into Lost Soul Aside, since apparently people think that they're similar. There was an announcement trailer 2 months ago, and then there was a short preview here. A VTuber is on the screen. I can't do it. It's in my contract. I'm not allowed to watch VTubers. I'm too old. I would ruin their image. I'm trying to get you some actual gameplay here, boys. I feel like we've seen this. We saw this at a recent event, did we not? I remember seeing her, like, flying around. I'm either 1,000 years old, or I don't have an age. That's what the actual original script says. Wait. Did he do the take my money meme? Oh, no. He did a fist bump. I thought he did the meme where the guy like opens his wallet and puts the credit card down. I swear that's what he's doing. Anyway. Okay, yeah, so this is the game that we're getting recommends off of that game, which is called Sword of Justice. But what we're really here for is lostsoulaside. So let me pull this up for you guys. And again, keep in mind, we are, where did I put the video? Here it is. Okay, so this is from the China Joy event. I don't know what YouTube is doing here. So Enfant Terrible has this footage, and it's nobody seemingly owns the footage. Like, nobody was like, oh, I recorded it, it's mine. But it's not in 4K, even though it says it's in 4K. You know, oh, Hilly is overriding the member goal on the layout. Okay, so here, let me turn my music off. We'll listen to this and see what we think.
因为实际上，比如大家可能喜欢鬼泣啊，喜欢的这个一些快节奏的动作游戏过程中，它
Okay, I'll just put my music back on. I'm not doing that for comedic effect. I did not know this was being narrated by somebody. So this is probably at an event where one of the devs is likely talking. So, you know, props to Infant Terrible for having this footage. I don't know where they got it. So down in the corner behind me is just 3 abilities that look like you would use R1 to signal those abilities. Thank you so much, Leviathaner, for adding to the monstrous total right now, getting us to 575 and adding to the member battle. It is currently being won 265 to 208. Twitch is winning. So I wanted to look at the this boss fight in particular, because this is where I see a lot of like FF16 influence, because it does seem to take quite a while. But the presentation here is very much like what we've seen lately in Wu Chang and Black Myth Wukong and other games that are very Souls inspired. You're in a set arena, okay? You've got a fight with a boss that has sort of like an entrance, fast frenetic attacks that you're going to need to be able to like dodge, block, parry, or whatever. So again, that's where I feel like this is like FF16 meets a Soulslike. Like, I don't think this is a Souls-like game, but to say this is not influenced by some of the things we've seen in recent games that have taken a lot of inspiration from and expanded on the idea of a Souls. Now, somebody might say, well, this is just a classic hack and slash action game. There's obviously those influences there as well. And somebody's pointing out no stamina bar. I like when there's no stamina bar. I think that is one thing that I loved about Sekiro. That's one thing that I really, really liked about Wu Chang. Fallen Feathers, no stamina bar. The stamina bar in Kazan took me a little bit of time to get used to, because I was kind of accustomed to Wu Chang not having one. Sekiro doesn't have one. Well, no, Sekiro has a posture bar, doesn't it? And you can like reset it by raising your sword. It doesn't. It's like a different version. That's getting old too. Tons of visual clutter. That was one of my main concerns with Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, was all of the visual clutter and the visual pollution. Like, every attack distorts the area around it, like the actual like blurring effects and the visuals. So you'll notice we've been in the fight for quite a while here. He just did a combo in that tree for like a pretty long while. And this is where we're going to see more of the hack and slash, sort of like Devil May Cry, as well as like Final Fantasy influence. Originally developed by one person. Influenced by Final Fantasy 15. You can kind of see that in his running animation. It really reminds me of that. But this one looks like it's going to appeal to an audience that likes this sort of long, drawn out, almost sort of like JRPG influenced style of fighting, which I know some people are like, oh, I don't like the term JRPG. I don't know what else to call it. That's what it makes me think of. Oh, so that's a weapon switching thing there, I believe. Yeah, and we've got a video we can look at with the different weapons as well. I kind of like how they're represented. That actually is kind of cool. Wu Chang does have a stamina bar, though. What? What game am I thinking of? Why do I think Wu Chang doesn't have a stamina bar? Huh? What game am I thinking of? I played it recently and I didn't have a stamina bar. Why did I think it was Wu Chang? I thought I thought Wu Chang, you were gaining your abilities and using your abilities off of the dodges. Are you sure? Am I literally having a total brain meltdown? Am I thinking of Stellar Blade that doesn't have the stamina bar like Sekiro? I prefer Western RPG to JRPG personally. Wu Chang has a stamina bar. Kazan does? What the frick am I thinking of? And you can like stab him in the back. I played a game recently and there was no stamina bar and I swore it was Wu. No, you're right. Wu Chang has one. What game am I thinking of? My brain is fried right now. Stellar Blade? No, I played it with you guys. And I was like, oh, there's no stamina bar. That's so nice. It was something after Wu Chang because I remember remarking about it and being like, oh, there's no stamina bar. You can just do as many moves as you'd like. Oh, it was Phantom Blade Zero. That's exactly what it was. I got my freaking brain all mixed up. We were looking at the Phantom Blade Zero footage, and I compared it to Wu Chang and said, oh, there's no stamina bar. That's why I got myself so confused about it. I was like, wait, what the frick? I was like, I thought there wasn't a stamina bar. It was Phantom Blade Zero that we just watched last week. That's what it was. Too many games and an old man's brain. I'm like, freaking confusing myself. Saved him from an aneurysm. That was going to drive me crazy. I was like, dude, I know for a fact we looked at a game recently and we were like excited that there was no stamina bar. I thought I was playing it. Hilly is just dominating with this horse thing. Wrong blade. Yeah, there's Stellar Blade, there's Phantom Blade, there's Switchblade. Yeah, there's a lot. So we're still in this boss fight. Okay? We're still in this boss fight. And this is where I was, again, near the end of Final Fantasy 16. I thought the boss fights got a little long in the tooth. Right? Like Donkey said, too many swords. Yeah, I think Donkey was a bit of a prophet with that video and that take. I know Sekiro, another small Souls-like indie game called AI Limit, doesn't have stamina bar. Yeah, that's what it is Sekiro, and I didn't get to play AI Limit, but I heard it was pretty good. And then Stellar Blade, and then Phantom Blade Zero. And the reason I thought it was Wu Chang is because when we were watching it, I was making direct comparisons to Wu Chang, and my brain just like melded the memory into one. And the visual quality here is really poor. This is not a very good capture. Everybody that's uploaded this is uploaded at 4K, but this is not a 4K capture at all. It's very blurry. It's very muddy. Likely related to the capture method. Whoever captured this captured it. It looks like, I feel like they captured it at 1080, honestly. Even like the text and the fonts look a little blurry. There's another phase. Yep. Look at his health bar. We're in a whole other phase of the fight now. So that's why I wanted to do this. I wanted to kind of break this down with you guys because I do think this is a significant style choice. And see, he broke down his stamina bar and look at the amount of damage that he got to do. So he did earn the right to chunk this guy down from about 70% of his health now down to about 30% of his health. And it looks like he's not done. He's still going in. So I think that's kind of the style, is if you're able to whittle down that stamina bar, you're going to be able to be rewarded with big damage. Like he took, I don't even know, I would say 60 to 70% of his health bar with that little run of a combo. My thumb was sore. FF16 gave me carpal tunnel fighting all the spongy fodder, so I hope Lost Soul is shorter in that kind of combat. We did it. Okay, so Reforged community sent 78 of those horses. Thank you so much for sending those horses with those combos over there on Purple. Y'all are the best. You guys are currently winning the member battle. I'll put the member battle up there so you can see it. It's 208 to 265. So Purple is currently winning handily. Okay, so we got another fight here. Or no, this isn't a fight. This looks like a combat environment to show off different things. They're showing how you can do L2 square or L2 triangle Okay, so that's down in the corner behind me. They're basically using abilities. So you hold L2, and then you hit either triangle or square to utilize these abilities, it looks like. Matt says, my problem with Souls-likes is because there's no difficulty options. Dodge parry timing is mandatory unless I'm focused and trying to improve. It becomes a hard stop often at some point. The choices were limited. Yeah, it was either the horse, the heart, a crying cat. What is that? Or a dino. Well, yeah, I say you guys chose wisely with the horse. Mash, have you tried any of the games that have added difficulty options, like with Lies of P on PS Plus? Well, is Lies of P still on Game Pass? You could always try Lies of P, lower the difficulty. You could always try First Berserker Kazan, lower the difficulty, and see what you think. We're 7 likes away from 200 likes. I'm going to delay those things that pop up sometimes on YouTube. I'm going to hit delay on those. I know you guys like when I do that. You can say, hey, thanks for doing that, Lono, and you can hit the like button. I like that both the player and the boss are kinetic. I hate in Souls like when the boss can flip around and you're slow as dirt. Perfect dodge and parry. Yeah, it looks like you've got perfect dodges and parries in this. There is elements of this that kind of remind me a little bit of Stellar Blade with how some of the combat is flowing. All right, we got ourselves a loading screen here. Okay. So again, this is where I feel like these types of setups are, I think, enjoyable. They're enjoyable. You have an arena. This is kind of home base until you beat them. Although I wonder if they're designing this to have high fail rates on bosses. Like Final Fantasy 16 didn't feel like there were high fail rates. It just felt like they were really long, which made it really a little bit nerve-wracking. Ice skating. I think what it is that you don't like, maybe Hilly, or that you're pointing out, I think it's an anime running trope. It's like the very fast running where they're like leaning forward and they are almost gliding, skating, instead of like literally running. There's also lots of dodges and flashes and teleports happening as well. This doesn't look particularly challenging, but I'm fine with that. Yeah, he definitely had an ability to heal. He had plenty of time to heal. He got kind of ripped up by the boss and dropped to like half health. It looks like the telegraphs have really, really significant warnings before, so if you get hit by one, it's kind of deserved, like that one right there. Okay, so we got the stamina bar down, and we've got a square X combo next to their bar. Also, it looks like there's 2 blue dots above their health bar, so a little Sekiro, style thing there, where this boss likely then has 3 total phases, or maybe 2, where when you take down this first health bar, one of those dots will disappear. So maybe they are letting you know ahead of time that there are multiple phases. If you guys have not taken the time to like the video on YouTube, do a real quick check to make sure it's saving it so we can get to that next milestone. Y'all are the best. Thanks for being here. We're reacting to some Lost Soulaside gameplay. Okay, so yeah, the blue dot disappears. If the story is good too, it looks promising to me. I think these games, for me, story isn't all that important. Like, I didn't pay much attention to the story in Stellar Blade. I've not paid too close attention to the story in First Berserker Kazan. I didn't pay too close attention to the story in Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. That's just me. I think it's there if you want it. It's there if you want to have that deep dive into things. It also looks like this fight's going a little bit faster. Oof, he got absolutely chunked there. He's not going to heal. He's going to go for the ego. He's just going in at half health. Oh no, he healed. I was like, man. Stellar Blade serviceable. Stellar Blade devs had admitted the story was a weak point of the game and have committed to improving that in the sequel. I mean, me personally, even if the story was good, I'm just going to be honest, I just don't pay much attention to it. Like, Sekiro's story was really cool and mysterious, but I didn't pay much attention to it, Oh, no, yeah, it looks like, okay, so 3 phases. 3 phases. Once the 2 dots are gone, you're on the 3rd phase. Okay, so I was correct in thinking there would be 3 total phases. Okay. If you're just tuning in, we're checking out Lost Soulaside gameplay. This is a boss fight. Just doing some basic breakdown analysis and reaction. It does look a little muddy and low quality. That's not something I have any control over. Whoever this is just can't get enough of running through the flowers. Like, I don't know if you're catching on here. Like, You know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Like, that was kind of irritating to watch. I don't know why they kept doing that. Did not seem to be like a good strategy. They just sort of face tanked the area of effect and then healed through it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would play that way because I'm a stubborn son of a gun, but I don't know why you would put that in your recording. They just kept going. They're like, I'll get there. I'll get there eventually. Eventually, it won't hurt me. The perfect dodge animation is pretty nice, though. A little stutter freeze on that to signify the perfect dodge. They're having a really hard time with that blue circle telegraph. Seems really obvious to me. So that's a wave attack with the flowers on the ground that they have to dodge with a jump. So that, yeah, see, that seems like an easy one to dodge away from, jump back in for a big punish, and they're not doing it. So this is where I really do feel like there is some Souls influence. Like, there's just obvious use of iframes, and you're supposed to use telegraphs, and you're also supposed to use moments where the enemy is sort of returning to a neutral. Like right there, they're missing a pretty big punish window by, instead of dodging away and jumping back to the enemy, they're dodging away and then just sort of staying away. So Battlefield 6 will hit 60 FPS in performance mode on the PS5, and even higher on the Pro. I don't know why anybody's surprised by that. Companies are going to continue to leverage that power. I tried telling folks, like, devs are going to want to leverage that power. They're not going to look at it as a scam or a waste of time. Twitter bluster and rage bait content once again failing to provide, you know, even moderately helpful analysis of a situation. Surprising nobody. Who's playing? Hilly says IGN China. This is actually being played by somebody at the China Joy event, and I believe they're talking. A lot of the times the reason you don't get great footage from these events is because, let's see, does he have any more? I think he's got a separate thing here at the end where the quality will go up. I believe it's the weapons. I believe it's the weapons video. You were joking? Oh, okay. Oh, I get the joke now. Sorry, Haley. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, it's an IGN joke. People forget that a story and lore are not the same thing. They're usually intertwined, so it's fair to, I think it's fair for people to get them a little confused, because they're usually intertwined. The devs are likely witnessing with hand over their mouth, feeling immense pain, watching him constantly charge into damage. Yeah, it was a bit much. Yeah, I mean, that right there is just such, that's why I get like Final Fantasy 16 vibes. Like, he looks like a young Clive. Okay, I believe this is the weapons. Yeah, this is going to be a better quality video because they just released this on the PlayStation channel. Actually, let's just watch the PlayStation channel instead of a re-upload, because we know that'll be at like the full quality. A re-upload is usually we're gonna lose some quality with that. Hang on one second. Here we go. Lostsoulaside weapons trailer. Okay. And we can listen to this one, actually. This one's not going to be...
The blade in your hand.
Listen, guys, listen. I'm watching the video without you, okay? You're just along for the ride. Just shut the frick up and let me watch the video in peace, and then I'll let you watch It's a whole new React meta. Okay? We're charting new territories of content here, and you guys are disrupting it, all right? So just sit there and watch me watch the video. This is the new era of React, okay? You don't get to see anything. You don't get to see jack squat, all right? Anyway, let's watch this video.
The blade in your hand.
I want to know at the end of this, which is your favorite, chat? Which is your favorite? We're checking out Lost Soulaside gameplay. This is a brand new weapons trailer they released a couple days ago. This one's my favorite, and I'll talk about why. All right, I'm gonna rewind that. I'm just gonna rewind that. So this is probably the part that convinced me I will end up liking this game, even if boss fights are a little drawn out. You know, maybe I'll drop the difficulty. That's something I really like doing lately. I especially like people being annoyed by that. It makes the gameplay more enjoyable. Like when I kill a boss really quickly, it makes my feet tingle. Anyway, let's just watch how they swiftly swap weapons. Although they're not going to swiftly go into the segment because I paused it at the wrong time. So up, switch, switch, boom. I love it. All about it. Okay, that was sick. Did you see what he did? So he switched to Scythe and then pulled him back. So this is what I hope they do with this mechanic, okay? I hope you're in a fight where they are not susceptible to the Scythe. Maybe their defense is strong against it or something. And you use the greatsword to break through that, launch them up in the air. Once you do that, maybe then they're susceptible to Scythe. So then you switch mid-fight. Like this gives me, I know it's not anything like Ghost of Tsushima, but it gives me that fun stance switching vibe of Tsushima, and it pauses the dadgum game so you can do it and feel really, really cool. Like that's the part of this video that really kind of flipped my opinion a little bit on this game. This is where someone's saying, I don't see the Souls-like influence. Many hack-and-slash games I love already include these features, but that's just me. I may be just super unfamiliar with hack-and-slash games, but going into an arena, seeing a larger-than-life, macabre-like monster or this insane creature, and you have this really, really large sword, and then you have these really tight, like, iframes and dodge windows and things, and these really, really big punish windows. I'm not saying it's a Souls-like. That's why the title of the video or the thumbnail says FF16 meets Souls-like. I feel like there's clear influence. This is not a Souls-like game. I don't think I've even tried to indicate that. But it seems very influenced by that idea. Now, I know people are going to say, well, you know, Devil May Cry, Ninja Gaiden, these are games where that happened as well. It's hard to say where the influence is coming from, but I feel like Elden Ring and Final Fantasy and From games like the history of From games are very much present in some of these boss designs. I don't think that makes it a Souls-like. I'm just seeing influence. Now you could say, well, the influence is coming from Devil May Cry. You might be more accurate than me. You might have more of an accurate assessment. But to me, that's what I see. It's like, oh man, that reminds me of a lot of the fights I've had in those From games. Also, with the name Lost Soulaside, there have been people that have speculated, oh, is it a Souls game? And I wanted to kind of dispel that notion, be like, no, it's not a Souls game. It's an action game. It's far more hack and slash JRPG adjacent than Souls. Bosses didn't exist before Dark Souls. I'm not saying who did it first. I'm just saying what I see. That's all. I see the influence. I'm like, I don't know, man. Elden Ring really put this kind of thing on the map in a bigger way. And yeah, somebody's saying, I see OG God of War, Bayonetta, Final Fantasy, Devil May Cry. Yeah, I think everybody's going to see something a little bit different. I've played more of the Souls games. I've played more of the, FromSoft style. Even when we played through Stellar Blade, you could argue that elements of Stellar Blade looked like a Devil May Cry or a Final Fantasy or like a JRPG. I saw Sekiro. I saw a FromSoft influence. I saw, a big giant macabre-like monster and a little teeny normal person with a sword, and that's kind of what I'm seeing in Lost Soulaside. And you're like, yeah, well, that was in Devil May Cry, or Devil May Cry did it first. I typically don't see influence based on who did it first. It's more based off of my own experience and what I've played, which is why when I saw it, I was like, that feels like it's been heavily influenced by those styles of games. But the point is, influence doesn't determine genre either. Influence does not determine genre. So those that were maybe concerned about it being a Souls-like, it's not. It's more action game. It's more hack and slash. And again, it's got that it's got the Final Fantasy influence, clearly. I believe even the guy that originally was working on it said, he was inspired by Final Fantasy 15. So, got a question here. You guys can use this question command. All members and subs can do this on Purple and YouTube. How do you think gaming conversations will be like in the future when all games are everywhere? I don't think this will ever happen. Like an entire generation of kids growing up playing Halo on PS5, will they bring up old consoles? I don't think there's ever going to be a time where games are everywhere. I think this is a false notion, usually put forth by people that are trying to will that into existence because that's what their brand has done. I'm not saying that you're doing that, but in large measure, I think that's an absolute fantasy mirage that people claim is out there on the distant horizon. I don't see that at all. I see Nintendo has fully cemented itself for another pretty, I would say, long and successful gen with a device that is very much centered around its own games. And I don't think PlayStation's going to waver either. They're too heavily invested as a hardware company. Thank you for all those combos, by the way, over here on Purple. You guys are freaking nuts. I don't see that being the reality. I don't see there being some future where all Nintendo games are everywhere and all of the big tentpole PlayStation games are everywhere. I just don't see that. I don't see The Last of Us Part 3. Let's imagine it exists. I don't see that on the Switch. I don't see that on, mobile devices. I don't see that on, I don't know. I just don't see that as the future. We see so many videos to this after the posting of Sony. Yeah, did you see the fact that the position wasn't new? It had been around for a long time, and it was about the existing strategy that they already outlined 2 and 3 years ago. Did you see that? Or are you just going off of clickbait and rage bait and making it seem like, well, the entire future of gaming is changing because of a job posting to fill a position of a job and a team that existed prior to that moment? It wasn't a new development. It wasn't a new thing. I don't know. If somebody wants to make a compelling case, let them. I have yet to see anybody make a compelling case. It's a bunch of marketing. It's just a bunch of marketing. You've got a platform that has made claims about the future, and everybody's parroting those claims. It's marketing, is all it is. It's an attempt to seem like one platform's ahead of the curve and one platform's being forward-thinking, because they're dressing up their own reactionary status in the landscape. They're dressing up and putting lipstick on a pig. The entire platform and brand have completely shifted and changed, and they're trying to dress it up as they're being forward-thinking. And I think people are lapping it up and just parroting it, and I don't see that being the future. With the absolute insane success of the Switch 2 and the sales percentages and the success of the PlayStation 5, I don't know why anybody is buying it. I don't. I don't know. The entire thing is absurd. It's an exercise in like propagandizing a populace with marketing to make them think that something's coming true, to the point that, I mean, I'm making light of it and it's comedic to me. It's laughable. But to be like, oh, in the future, you'll be able to build your own Xbox. I mean, Xbox is putting their games on PC day and date for how long? So theoretically, you could, quote unquote, build an Xbox for, like, I don't know, the last 10 years. But because you've bought into the idea that they're being forward-thinking as a brand and that that's the future, you're painting some mirage for people. It's like, oh, okay. I would rather talk about games like Lost Soulaside and innovation in hardware and innovation in machine learning and performance and immersion, as opposed to like parroting marketing talking points about this alleged future that we're headed toward. I don't know. The whole thing to me has just become a bit of a circus show. You know. Somebody said Colin over at Last Time Media said the same thing. This was a job posting for a job that was already needed. Yeah, I don't know. Basically, every PC that has Windows is using DirectX as an Xbox now. Yeah. It's like having a really bad losing record in football, and you're like, well, first downs are now touchdowns, so we win. It's like, okay, all right, I don't. Turnovers are now touchdowns. We win. All right. Whatever you got to say to make yourself feel better. I'm not interested in delusional nonsense anymore. I think the whole thing is a giant circus show of parroting marketing to get people to feel good about something that they know deep down they don't feel good about. You know? Yeah, that fast, Jack Garland. That fast. Went from outright denial and name-calling because people were just like, I don't know, looking at what CFOs and CEOs were saying. Outright denial and name-calling to, well, that brand's going to do the same thing. Okay. All right. Let's see if there's any more Lost Soulaside. I don't think there's any more Lost Soulaside trailers. I don't think. Gaming Bolt has 15 things you absolutely need to know before you buy. It's a day old. My stance has been, if really, really big channels like this with 1 million subscribers, if the video is a day old, I feel comfortable using it. We're not going to serve as a replacement, and we're not a threat to them. So let's see what Gaming Bolt has to say about this game that we're covering today. All right.
Well, folks, the ambitious Final Fantasy-inspired action game Lost Soulaside is nearly here, and the anticipation is high. Development was long and difficult, originating with a single developer and growing into the Sony-backed 40-person studio that it is today. While this character action RPG leans more into hack-and-slash territory, it may end up making waves like Expedition did earlier this year. With a slew of newly revealed footage and info, there are some key details that we want to share about this upcoming indie title. So, here are 15 things to know before you buy Lost Soulaside.
Wired Rope, what are you talking about? There's a website that's called this. The guy that runs this Deleuze. What's that though? What's that have to do with the conversation? Is that a platform that's been saying stuff that we were just talking about? Indie? Smaller, yeah, like a 40-person studio. So, for those of you that don't know, this is a fully funded PlayStation published game that will be landing on PC and PlayStation at the end of this month. I believe, what's the release date? August 29th. And this is one of the first major releases from China Hero. China Hero Project has had games like AI Limit and Fist and others, but this is probably one of the more bigger titles. Not big in the sense of like the company and the studio, but like I just think it's getting a little bit more press and a little bit more attention. Probably because it's got like the Final Fantasy influence, hack and slash influence.
The story. The plot of Lost Soulaside wears its Final Fantasy colors on its sleeve. There's an evil empire to overthrow, a sister to rescue.
I think he was saying it could be in the same basket as Expedition 33, Paul, in that like it's a small 40-person studio that could make a splash. I don't think he was saying the game itself will hit the level of Expedition 33. That was how I understood that comment.
And an otherworldly dragon granting the hero special powers. Characters. Our heroic lead, Kaser, partners up with unlikely allies from the Empire and the resistance groups to confront a new extra-dimensional threat, the Voidrax. But the Voidrax may not all be bad, considering the dragon-like Voidrax named Arena offers its powers to Kaser in an unlikely allegiance. Kaser's sister likely won't remain absent throughout the game, considering her role early in the timeline. She joined Kaser in rallying against the Empire before the Voidrax invaded, so there may be a chance she rejoins the party later. Kaser himself fits the stylish and stoic archetype, and it wouldn't be surprising to see some party members fulfill the comedic foil or anti-hero personalities. Inspired by Final Fantasy for its world. Back when Lost Soulaside was a solo dev project, Yang Bing made clear how much Final Fantasy influenced this game. He particularly cites the fusion of fantasy and reality as a core theme. This manifests in several ways, through Kaser's contemporary outfit and the more realistic looking locations in the game world, for example. Crystals are another major motif.
Is it Kaser? I would think it was Kaiser. Anyway.
With heavy presence in marketing and world design, the Dragon Companion, for example, is made of crystal, reinforcing the Final Fantasy DNA. Linear experience. One misconception players might have is that Lost Soulaside takes place in an open world structure. Well,
I don't think anybody thought that, but it's good to know that it's not. I actually prefer the more linear approach to games these days.
It's actually been confirmed that it doesn't. It offers a linear story with a wide explorable areas and branching paths, but no actual sprawling sandbox. That said, traversal abilities gained through Arena, like dash jumps, gliding, dragonflight, and even a crystal hoverboard, should make exploration fun and dynamic. Hopefully the platforming remains clever and fluid without becoming cumbersome. Weapon types. With so many traversal abilities on offer, players won't be relying on basic human jumps alone.
So I'm just going to give some feedback to Gaming Bolt here. You don't have to say, like his little, he says the category that he's about to go into. I don't know about you guys. Weigh in on this. I'm actually curious about this from a viewer's perspective. Wouldn't it be better if he just launched into talking about the weapon types instead of like awkwardly going weapon types and then going into it? Does that stick out to you guys, or am I just being Mr. YouTuber? Like I'm thinking like a YouTuber and not as like a viewer? Like let's just re-listen to that section.
Platforming remains clever.
I'm actually curious what you think because we're always thinking about this when we make our own videos. You don't really care? Okay, let's just listen to it.
And fluid without becoming cumbersome. Weapon types. With so many traversal abilities on offer, players won't be relying on...
He's done it for forever? Okay. Maybe it's for people that are audio only? Okay. I'm always curious what the viewer thinks of that type of thing. I'm always curious. Like, do people think that that's, like, helpful? Is it annoying? Do you not even hear it? I see it and it stands out to me. I always like... This is, like, my favorite thing, and I want to start doing this with our own content as well. We did that with the Wu Chang video. I like when the big text comes up across the center for each section, but you don't say the name of that section. You just, like, give a beat, and then you go into it. Like, I think the artistry of that, I love it. I love when people do that with their videos, and, like, I want to start doing that as well. So when he just did it in a different way, it stuck out to me, and you guys are like, doesn't bother me, don't mind it, I'd prefer him not hearing. Okay, so you guys don't think it's that big of a deal. Okay. Audio-only listeners could be helpful. That's true. That's true. It would be, yeah, because the title of the video is Things You Need to Know.
Basic human jumps alone. Arena, Kaser's Dragon Companion, functions as his traversal tool, in addition to his choice of 4 weapons. You thought using a crystal dragon as a hoverboard and crystal wall riding platform was cool? Well, just look at the weapons Arena can actually turn into. Arena can transform into 4 distinct weapons: a pole blade, scythe, greatsword, and one-handed sword. The sword serves as the ninja-like class, prioritizing some close-quarter slicing and dicing, while the greatsword excels in sheer heft, swatting enemies to the ground with slower but more determined strikes. The pole blade is certainly the ranged option of the four, showering foes with bullets or ranged slash.
Yeah, I was going to say why I like the pole blade. I like the intersection of range and melee. I think it looks really, really fun.
Strikes. Players may prefer the scythe if they're eager for a mixture of various weapon types, as it seems to be the difficult to master but all-in-one choice. Want to swap weapons mid-combat? No worries. Seamlessly switching between the four types is smooth as butter, lending new combos to battles. Weapon skills. Each weapon has up to 4 active skills mapped to face buttons. These range from the pole blade's energy blasts to the sword's warp speed aerial strikes. Lostsoulaside sure doesn't skimp on variety or visual flair. Skill tree. Weapon abilities are further augmented through a character skill tree. While the full layout hasn't been revealed, it does include classic RPG mainstays, such as passive buffs, stat boosts, and unlocks gained through experience points earned in combat. Weapon customization. Progression is further driven by collectible weapon fragments found throughout the game. These can be used to customize a weapon's appearance and upgrade specific skills. Whether these fragments can be applied interchangeably across different weapon types does remain to be seen. Parries and dodging. As a stylish action game in the vein of Final Fantasy and Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, lightning-fast dodging is essential here. That said, Lostsoulaside doesn't demand the kind of precision found in Sekiro or Lies of P. Lostsoulaside leans more towards a hack-and-slash orientation with an easy-to-pick-up but hard-to-master approach. But there's still...
Shovelface says, my firstborn is due August 29th. Well, I mean, I think we both know what you'll be doing that day, okay? So... your wife will understand.
Pairing involved here, it's just not as necessary as From Software adjacent games. Combo burst mechanics.
So see, even he's speaking to the From Software adjacency of this game. Like, there is clear similarities and influence there. To say there isn't, I don't think we can slice it that neatly. I think, and even he's pointing out, it doesn't seem like you're going to need to have that, like, super precise dodging, parries, and blocks that you need in games like that. I think, I don't know. I think that's fair to observe, but also fair to point out that, like, no, you don't need to. What is this? Somebody says, why did you report my unbanned request? I don't know who you are. Let's keep watching.
Combat depth comes from fluid combo chains and a mechanic called combo burst. Each combo has a specific burst moment that magnifies your attack power when timed correctly. To execute a burst, the player must time their button press at a specific time within the combo. It'll be pretty fun to master the rhythm of each of the different weapons and combos in this game. The fusion gauge also mixes up combat with a meter that allows your dragon friend, Arena, to claw at the enemy in various ways. This fusion ability can be upgraded and expanded alongside your other weapon skills and abilities, providing a pretty wide repertoire to play with. PC requirements. To experience Lostsoulaside on PC, players have to set aside 80 gigabytes of storage space for this install. Now, the minimum requirements list a Core i5-10400 or AMD Ryzen 5 3600 CPU, NVIDIA GTX 1060 or AMD RX 5500 XT GPU, and 16 gigabytes of RAM. But to maximize its graphical and performance potentials, players on PC need a Core i7-11700 or a Ryzen 7 5700X CPU, RTX 3070 or RX 6800 XT GPU, and the same 16 gigabytes of RAM as its lower settings.
Lobo says parrying and dodging are mainstays of the hack and slash character action genre. Right. Maybe I'll say it this way. There are a lot of people like me that are more familiar with FromSoft or Souls-style games, whether it's like slightly influenced, like we saw in Stellar Blade, which was influenced by Sekiro, I would argue, games like Lies of P, and then Elden Ring. There are lots of people like me that are more familiar with those games, and they're less familiar with like a Devil May Cry or a Ninja Gaiden or other hack and slash games. And so they're going to see what I'm seeing. I'm seeing similarities to like FromSoft arenas where like you walk in, there's a huge boss, there's crazy big attacks, you have a giant sword, and you're trying to win, right? And there's dodges and there's parries. So I think it's good to say, hey, this is more of an action-style game, even though it might look like there's Souls-like influence. It's not a Souls game. Also, its name, Lostsoulaside, is going to evoke that potentially in people's minds, even if at a subconscious level, I think it's important to point out, which is what he did. He's like, you're not going to need that level of precision. As I said, similarly, these fights are long, elongated, more similar to the hack and slash games or like a JRPG, where you're in the fight for a really long time. But even still, there is some of that influence, like the dots above the health bar and the phases seems a little bit reminiscent of Sekiro. Even though this game like looks nothing like Sekiro.
Of course, ray tracing is available to take in the dynamic crystal-laden visuals, though it will require the Ultra settings, so keep that in mind. Ultra ray tracing necessitates an i7 13700K or Ryzen 7 7800X CPU, RTX 5070 Ti GPU, and once again, ray tracing PC gamers can also look forward to 4K visuals with unlocked frame rates. The publisher has also shared performance boosting technologies regarding the PC version, which strongly suggest DLSS and or AI assisted frame generation. Oh, and want to feel the advanced haptics that PS5 users can experience? Well, the DualSense controller is fully compatible with the PC version. No PSN account required on PC. PC players can have their cake and eat it too, considering Lostsoulaside doesn't appear to mandate a PSN account to play on PC.
Dude talked about this more than any other thing in the video. Are you talking about the Gaming Bolt guy? What do you think he talked about too much? The PC stuff?
This knowledge comes from the Steam page, which recently removed the Lostsoulaside PSN requirement completely. PS5 Pro
So that's good. No PSN requirement.
support confirmed. Though details are scarce at the moment, Lostsoulaside will be enhanced for the PS5 Pro. As with other Pro-supported games, expect improvements in visuals and the frame rate, but no exclusive content beyond those technical upgrades.
What do you think he spent too much time on? The PC specs is a pretty quick section. I didn't think it was very long.
Pricing and platforms.
This is an odd choice to just suddenly let the game audio play. Why do I hear like a microphone in a gymnasium too? Like, what's going on?
Lostsoulaside releases on August 29th for PS5 and PC. The regular edition will cost you $59.99, while the Digital Deluxe edition clocks in at $69.99. Digital Deluxe.
The fact that its Souls games are at the front of those mechanics are endemic to the subgenre, totally understandable. Well, and I think what Maloon said is probably also helpful, Lobo. He says hack and slash game has predominantly been put in hibernation, and so he can't blame folks for seeing the Souls reference. Like, those are the more prominent games right now. And so it's like, oh, that looks like a Souls game. That's why I wanted to let people know, like, no, this is not a Souls-like, because people are getting that Souls fatigue, and I was like, no, this is going to be more in the hack and slash action, genre.
Deluxe owners get 3 weapon fragment skins, an arena skin, a health booster, XP booster, and a digital soundtrack with their game code. So, what are your thoughts on this?
So that was a helpful video. I mean, nothing super earth-shattering there, but a helpful video nonetheless. So guys, make sure and get us to 300 likes if you guys want to support that video. It's over there on Gaming Bolt. They released that one day ago. I don't like to use content in its infancy, but when a channel's that large and the video is 1 day old, that's the minimum. I like to wait until the video is at least 1 day old, unless it's a major outlet re-uploading a trailer or something. That's entirely different. But like actually content that somebody took the time to like write a script and make, I like to bare minimum give it 1 day in the algo. If that was a content creator, of similar size to me, I wouldn't have watched it. I would have waited. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that to a video in its infancy. The only games that have issues are the ones with anti-cheat software. Mafia the Old Country released a new video 9 minutes ago. We're probably going to have to cover that this week. I don't know when we're going to be getting the review embargo for Mafia the Old Country. Little concerned that nobody has like come out to say what the review embargo is, because usually we know, and we have not received that this time. So with how the degradation of Mafia has kind of gone, like the graphical degradation, a little concerned there that something funny's going on. Yeah, that's Shinobi Art of Vengeance. If you guys haven't played that demo, that's one of the most enjoyable platformers I've played recently. It really reminded me of... It really did. It really reminded me of Prince of Persia. I thought it was really, really good. I thought it was really, really good. Yeah, the demo was super, super fun. I liked it. Heard rumors that Old Country is disappointingly short. It's only a $50 game, so I do think we need to be a little gentle in our criticism of it being like a shorter game around 10 to 12 hours. I think we need to be a little gentle because it is only a $50 game. So, we've wanted to have more of a pricing spectrum within the gaming world, and a smaller game, smaller playtime length being 50, I would say is probably fair. We haven't played it yet, so we obviously have to reserve some judgment. But to immediately castigate it is like, well, that's too short. Well, yeah, it is $50. So apparently, Ben's studio was hinting at something, and this is what it was hinting at. Days Gone Broken Road DLC is available now on GOG. Play all new game modes, including speedrun, permadeath, and horde assault, a survival arcade mode, and increased size hordes. So, that's what they were hinting at. There you go. Hail the GOG. Yep. Was not on GOG before. The DLC was probably not, from what this is saying. It says Days Gone Broken Road DLC is now available on GOG. So, seems to be that the DLC was not. Yeah. Guys, do me a really, really quick favor. Go crazy on the like button on YouTube, especially. I need a very quick break. Give me 1 second. Okay. Sorry. The Twitchers came with a new month energy. Oh, yeah. They, well, 200 of that. No, I'm sorry. 250 of that is pork pie. Yeah. Got some homies out here just straight up flexing. Just going crazy. So. Pork Pie says, I heard my name. Yes, they are giving you guys credit for doing so amazing. They were giving Twitch credit. And I said, well, 250 of that 265 is Pork Pie. Yeah. And then MASH is at the top of our chat with just a bunch of 50 bombs. So we will see if YouTube allows the victory. I am contemplating actually cutting this short and going to Green Room, mainly because and I actually may just do a full-on member stream because there's so many new members. Like, we could expose them to, like, why it's great to be a member, especially because both platforms have gotten a ton of new members, okay? It's still a team game. Ultimately, Lono wins. Well, I appreciate it. I am definitely... It's definitely providential that we didn't take our trip this week to Ohio, because things have just been continuing to not look great, and taking a week off when things don't look great, it's like that can be like a double whammy. So I think it's a blessing to not be like away from the channels right now, even though the news is kind of slow. Like, that's not something I have control over, but which is kind of why I tried to time the trip with this week. I thought this week would be a bit of a no man's land, given with the end of China Joy and Gamescom. That creates a valley typically in the news cycle. So yeah, your guys' support is so appreciated, like, deeply, because we have so little control over so much of what's been going on the platforms, and we're kind of at their mercy, you know. I can only do so much, you know. I try to create a ton of content. I try to do a very good job, but I can't control, like, what YouTube or Twitch decide to do. I have just very little power there. We're very much at their mercy. Your wife's going to reschedule the trip for the week Yote drops, isn't she? No, I told my parents, I said, we will not be able to postpone and, like, come up another date, because literally the end of this week is when everything gets put into overdrive. Soccer starts, so I'm coaching both teams. The kids go back to school, so school spins up. They do homeschool, and they do, like, a thing that they go to once a week. And it's just like, once that happens, we can't take a trip. It's like, there's just no way. Yeah. So, you do a great job. That's why I'm here for the support. Well, I appreciate it. I hope more and more people, you know, decide that this is a great place to hang out every day. Subs, especially on YouTube, you know, folks hitting subscribe, tune in every day is just an enormous help to what we do. So those of you that are subscribed and you're here every day, it's super, super helpful. Thank you. I did not see the new trailer for Mafia: The Old Country. I did see that on my homepage, but I didn't watch it. Expedition Director 33 says he feels the prejudice against turn-based RPGs is still there. I could talk about the prejudice forever. Personally speaking, I think Japanese turn-based RPGs were super popular up until the Xbox 360 era, but around that time, open-world games started getting more popular through gaming media. JRPGs started being considered uncool. I don't know if they were considered uncool. I just feel like when you get a taste for moment-to-moment action, turn-based can feel like a step backwards. It doesn't mean that it is. I don't know if you guys were aware of this. I was not aware of this. Hell Is Us demo will be on consoles next week. So that is definitely something I need to put on the old calendar so that I don't forget. We will definitely want to check that out. That's one of the games I think could be a sleeper hit this year. Nobody warned me about playing Expedition 33 with unprocessed grief. Hey, guys, you really shouldn't play Expedition 33 without if you have some unprocessed grief. Be careful. Be careful out there. Dad's prepping dinner, and after going, Pat going back to my apartment tomorrow. Doctor took up due to stomach flu going on. Still? Man, that's not fun at all. I can enjoy the standout turn-based stuff, but it's not something I'm going to go... Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go looking for other turn-based games. It still is not my cup of tea. You know? Like, even though I've played a game that I thoroughly enjoyed with turn-based mechanics, it didn't suddenly make me a fan of turn-based mechanics. I still am not going to seek those games out. It's just something that I don't like as much as like moment to moment. You know? I like turn-based games that make me think about my next move. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that part about it that I did enjoy in Expedition 33, but it also becomes very rote and rehearsed, which I guess you could say the same is true. Oh, sorry, Discord, hang on. I've been deafened in Discord all day anyway. I guess you could say the same is true for, like, action games, hack and slash games, combat-focused games. I mean, I guess you could say that, like, you know, they're definitely, like, moment-to-moment things that you're just sort of repeating. You're sort of going through the motions. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and call it. We're going to go to Green Room, but I'm going to set up Green Room for everybody so that new members can get a sample. This stream has been fun. It's been effective, but it'll be better served if it's shorter, if that makes sense, later. So the show will go on. You guys aren't going to suddenly not be able to hang out and talk. And I will be making this open to all members so they can get kind of a sample of what the Green Room is. A loose sample because my producer is out of town. Yo, it's good, Powerhouse. Thanks for the sub. Did I like the Battlefield 6 reveal? Sorry, I couldn't see your text. They liked the Battlefield 6 reveal. I did. I really liked the multiplayer sort of return to form. It felt like I played a lot of Battlefield 4 with my buddies, and it was so fun. And it really felt like that. The show must go on. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to duke it out, all right? I'm going to give you 5 minutes to duke it out. If not, Twitch is winning handedly, and you can bring a bunch of people with us to the Green Room. This will be a members-wide Green Room to kind of celebrate the insane day today that Pork Pie really stoked those fires. So thank you again for doing that, sir. But YouTube, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time here. If you want to fight back, I'm going to give you basically have 6 minutes to duke it out. And Hawk is going to use their Prime sub over here on Purple and give Purple a little bit more padding in the lead, 266 to 208. Thank you so much for that. Thank you very much. Anybody who has a Prime sub, you guys can use that every single month on me. You got to do it manually, though, so don't forget to do that every single month. Even if you just stop by and do it, that is super helpful. So thank you. And then, obviously, the more you watch, the more potential that you have of getting a gifted as well. So thank you to everybody who continues to do that as well. Did you ever play Destiny 2? I was a Destiny content creator for 5 years. In 2020, that came to a screeching halt due to false claims and a cancel brigade. And, yeah, it was full-time. And then in 2021, I got banned from the game and was never told why because I was, rebuilding on YouTube. So we switched to Variety Gaming coverage in 2021 and have been doing it ever since. If you can remember 2020, it was not a great time. Yeah. So all it took was some twit longer to light a person's life on fire. James MC is going to gift a member for YouTube and say, "Come on, boys, let's have a little run here." He seemingly doesn't want to see Twitch win the daily battle. It's now 2:09. You guys cannot call on MASH any longer. The man has done his duty. He has done his duty and his job. Okay, he has more than helped carry the day. didn't light your life on fire. They nuked it from orbit. Yes, yeah. We still, to this day, I mean, it's been 5 years. We're still very much in a rebuild. It's just we're just not back to where we need to be, but we're on our way. We have never arrived. I never really planned to arrive. I always want to work hard and make better content and increase value, and that's the goal. They're the most toxic. I don't know if they're the most toxic, but they could certainly make a run for top 3. You have over 7,000 hours. Yeah, I had a lot of hours as well. Yeah. All right, YouTube, clock's ticking. You got 3 minutes if you're going to try to take the lead back from purple. At that point, I'm going to call it, and we're going to go to the green room, and the day will go to purple, to Twitch, to Pork Pie, Mr. Pork Pie over there. That's not fair. You added a bunch of hours sitting in orbit. This is true. I did. I had a lot of hours sitting in orbit. If you guys have not hit the like button yet on YouTube, make sure and do that. Try to get us. We might not be able to do it, but 300 likes before this stream ends would be very, very helpful. It's hard to imagine you focusing on just one game. You've got so many different insights about the industry and all genres. Yeah, I've been kind of learning on the job, like training on the job, Jack, because like I super was not in tune to a lot of that stuff and just had to learn as I go. Reading articles, watching videos. Yeah. I feel a little bit at times like sometimes I feel like I'm not actually doing a good job because I'm like, it always feels like we're kind of surface level on stuff, but you know, that's kind of what variety is going to be. It's always going to be a little bit. And I think that's probably like why people liked my deep dive into Phantom Blade Zero and my video on Wu Chang, because I got to dive deep into something. Another single coming in from James. He's like, boys, come on. We got 2 minutes. James is trying to rally the troops. You guys need 57 members to beat Twitch. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know. Classic imposter syndrome. I don't think I have imposter syndrome. Like, I know that I'm good at certain things, but I kind of feel like sometimes the content's not where it should be because we can talk about it more in green room. I've just been reflecting a lot on that. Like, am I making content worth watching, you know, or am I just another channel like so many other channels? Like, I feel like there could be something more to what we're doing, something deeper. I don't know. I've always sensed that. I've always had an angst that the content we're creating isn't where I want it to be. Not in an imposter syndrome way, like, oh, I'm not good enough, but like, no, we can always make things better than they currently are. Every now and then I get nostalgic for From Fridays. Not that I want them to come back, but it was fun. From Fridays was certainly a cool idea, and it certainly was a smart play in the lead up to Elden Ring. I think it ultimately hurt the channel, though, because we basically garnered a bunch of FromSoft boys and a bunch of FromSoft support, and I'm never going to appeal to them. I'm never going to appeal to them, you know? So. Oh. Bring back Reforge Radio, just kidding. If only it didn't affect the gaming channel as well. Yeah. We got to go to green room. Okay, it's 11:30. I got to call it. All right, last call. It's not last call for alcohol, but last call. If you guys are going to try to beat purple, you have roughly 60 seconds. I'm getting the link. I'm going to put the link in chat, and I'm going to redirect you guys, okay? Here's the thing. This segment that we are about to go to is reserved for paying members. I'm letting everybody come to it today because we had such a huge day. I want you to get a sampling of what members-only content is like on this channel, okay? It's behind the scenes. It's more laid back. It's more chill. If you want to support the channel directly, it is something that we really, really greatly need. We are heavily reliant on people gifting, and we would like for that to change. So maybe if you get access to this behind-the-scenes content, you think, hey, this is great. The show continues for $6 a month. You never, ever have to have the day end when we go to green room. You can just come with us, okay? I'm not getting off. You guys can continue watching on purple. We make it sub-only, though, because this is considered paid for content. Eventually, these segments on Twitch will be behind the sub wall. Like, you won't even be able to watch without a subscription. So the stream's going to continue. We're just switching gears. Hey, thanks so much for being a member to my channel. If you're watching this video later, this is a piece of members-only content. It is typically reserved for Member Plus and above, for people paying for their membership. We do content for gifted members. We do that on Friday night with Madam, and sometimes we do a Friday segment, and sometimes we do weekend streams. But this segment is a behind-the-scenes look at how we kind of like plan the content. Usually I'm joined by like my producer. We kind of discuss what we're going to be doing with the content. He's on vacation, but I'm going to let everybody have access to this right now because we had such a huge day with gifts on both platforms. I'm going to redirect people and end that stream. We did a Lost Soulaside